Everybody, and welcome to Pilu. I'm Louise
Hello,
Farr.
everybody. Oh, sorry, Lou.
I'm Louise Farr from Your Healing Journey.
And I am Paleki from Spiritual Medium Paleki. Hi, everybody.
Oh my gosh. This is episode 11P.
It
Lucky,
is, I
luck,
know. We're in the
lucky,
double digits now. We're grown up.
yes,
Our
lucky
podcast has
11.
gone through the growing pains.
Well, I don't
Many,
know.
many, many growing pains.
I don't know if it has really because we started like, okay, we're going to do this and we're going to do that. And all of a sudden, poof.
We'll see what happens, right? But yes, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us again for another episode of Pilu. You may have noticed we did not have one regularly like we normally do, where we're doing them weekly. Unfortunately, just with Louise's and my schedule, we're not able to do a full-on week commitment. So we're going to try to get them on as often as possible, but every 2 weeks for sure. We've at least made two a month if we can, kind of thing. We made that commitment. More if we can fit them in, but it's just that you might notice that they're not on weekly like they used to be. That's just a reason we found it was a little bit too much with everything else that we have on the go right now. So have you been, Miss Louise?
I've been good. I've been really good. I mean, January's gone. We're already
Hmm.
second week, starting the second week of
I know it's
February.
amazing.
Yeah, it's just crazy. And no, it's been good. It's been good. I'm saying it's been good, but
Mm-hmm.
I've had those moments this week where I'm like, okay, I'm getting tired of this. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting tired of yeah, of what's happening in the world right
Mm-hmm.
now because it's
Mm-hmm.
affecting all of us, right?
Yep.
And it's affecting us differently. And so with my practice, of course, that sort of feeling of, well, am I enough for,
Mm-hmm.
the clients that
Yep.
I work with? Am I,
Yep.
happening? And so the self-doubt,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
uh, and so I did reach out to one of my colleagues, that practices shamanism like I
Mm-hmm.
do
Mm-hmm.
to work together so that
Yep.
I can discover. I mean, I journey on my own and it works well, but sometimes I require that extra support, that
Yeah,
extra
the
boost.
extra boost. Yeah, yeah. And I think that's good because that's sort of a perfect segue into what we want to discuss this week. Uh, Oftentimes, people feel that when you're on your spiritual journey, and it is in some sense, yes, very solitary in that your spirit is growing, working with that. But in many cases, people forget that you don't have to do all the heavy lifting by yourself, that there are many other healers around that work in different modalities, different areas, different things that you can actually turn to. And like Louise said in her case, she's having a bit of a slump in the week. So she shifted her energies to go work with somebody else to help boost that energy back up. Again, in a few weeks, that person might be in their energy slump and Lou helps there. I know you and I, Lou, we always bounce back and forth with
Yes.
each other when we're having weeks, and it's kind of Louise and mine's a little different in the sense that we're friends, so we also friendship chat with each other. But I find it does go into sort of helping with each other. But that's what we want to discuss this week is the concept or the belief that you have to take everything on yourself, especially when you're spiritual or working through your spiritual stuff, and that somehow you're meant to still be happy and not let it affect you while you're doing it. And I think that's something that a lot of people do get stuck in, that belief system, or we're told, that when you start trusting the universe, everything's meant to flow peacefully, everything's meant to be great. And I mean, I think one of the important things people need to remember is healers are on the planet because people need healing. If,
Yes.
if everybody when you're in your spiritual practice hit this magical threshold where you don't need any healing, we'd go, well, people really don't need healers then. Like, you'd eventually get a point where enough people have healed that it starts to consciously shift. So I think that's an important thing, because especially too, and not just with healing work, but also sometimes with medical work, there's this belief system that because you can heal yourself, or when you work with spiritual intention, that you can reset healing. That I do know, and again, we do not recommend this in any regard. Louise and I are very staunch about this in the beliefs, but there are people that I know that will go off of medications because spiritual healers have told them to go off of it. And when we're talking about healing work and going for help with healing work, we mean both physical and spiritual.
Yes,
So
yes.
if you need help with the physical doctor, go to your doctor. If you need help with the spiritual healer, go to a healer. You know, and oftentimes we have this thing with this mentality that we have to take everything on by ourselves and handle everything on our own, which in some cases for some people can actually be detrimental or cause an opposite effect because you isolate yourself and actually feel that you're in the struggle by yourself.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And you know, both like you were saying, both you and I have talked about this, that we have at times struggled because we feel that we are alone in this. And we our journey, our personal healing journey is a solitary one. It
Yep.
is. But it doesn't make you weak by extending, you know, a hand to somebody else that is a practitioner also, that requires some support. And for us also, it's not weakness by saying, you know what, I'm stuck on this. I
Yeah.
really would love to chat with you and get your perspective on this, because for me it just rummages in my brain and it's the same story over and over again. So it's important to reach out and ask for assistance and ask for help.
But I mean, I think too with a lot of the stuff with COVID, where it's so unprecedented, you know, a lot of people I know are struggling because we don't have that same community connection that, you know, people had before. So you can't go to the physical drum circles like you used to. You know, there's not the gatherings, there's not the spiritual wellness fairs. Like a lot of people in the spiritual community, you do, you know, familiarize yourself, you get used to people kind of thing. And there's even that aspect of a bit of healing of just having other people to connect with. You know, being able to go to a drum circle, it doesn't have to necessarily be like a healing session, you know, but being able to go to the drum circle, even something like, I know for you and me, Lou, that one of the big things for our year is we always love going to the powwow. The beautiful powwow that we have at St. Mary's First Nations right here in Fredericton. I mean, that's a beautiful powwow that's very inclusive and open to anybody in the community that would like to learn about First Nations spirituality, practice, culture. And I mean, even that's one of those beautiful things, you know, honoring the solstice and all that. And there's a lot of that stuff where I think people are realizing now that again, solitary is good if you have a solitary perspective or you have that mindset. But, you know, sometimes solitary is like you're saying, you overthink everything. It's too solitary. You know, it's too much in the thing. And for a lot of people too, like meditation groups, people go to meditation groups, yoga classes, healing things, but you don't think of it as necessarily those are healing because you're not going for, you know, a therapy session or a healing session. You know, and so that's what we're trying to say is I've noticed too that a lot of people are, because you and I were discussing this beforehand, you were saying about how clients reach out to you. I find mine's different in that the clients aren't reaching out for the same reason that yours are, but many are expressing that feeling of they're now challenged with their life stuff that they're going through because they're not able to get out into the world and ignore it.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
and so there's that thing sometimes where that stuff comes up, but it doesn't mean you're meant to deal with it all by yourself. You can actually reach out, you know, and for me, again, I feel like I drone on about this and I want to change that energy in the universe. But when I was sick, one of the very big things for me was actually asking all my clients on my page and that, you know, send me healing light, send me, you know, because normally I am the type of person who I try to do a lot by myself if I can. I try to, you know, focus a lot on myself if I can. But that was one of those cases where it was a very big thing from the universe that was sort of like, P, you don't have to do this by yourself. You know, and it was this very interesting thing for me where we have this belief that somehow if you're the tough one who can hold everything together, then somehow that pushes you further on your spiritual practice. And I think many people need to understand that that's not always necessarily the case. Sometimes that you could be avoiding stuff because somebody else might be helping you work through something.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So, like for me this week, I've had a lot of clients reaching out, clients I haven't heard from in a while, and that were struggling, and a lot of them have their own, you know, practice.
Yeah.
Let it be, you know, whatever modality it is, and they feel like they've hit that threshold of, you know what, like we haven't been, you know, seeing our clients, and we haven't, you know, done the drum circles, and I'm doing the drum circles online, and I have been since COVID started, and that has helped a lot of people in the community. even though we're not together physically, we're still in the, doing that ceremony of journeying together and being in the circle, even though we're online. And every month, every third Monday of the month, I'm going to plug it. It's coming up on February 15th.
Perfect.
The next one. And you can contact me.
Where do they go, Lou, to find out information then if they're interested?
They can contact me.
Circles?
Just send me an email, louise@farr.ca, to start the communication and stuff, and I'll explain to them what's going on. I'm not on Facebook and Instagram as much, and I've seen people leave messages, and I just don't respond. So send me an email.
It is.
I'm doing it the old-fashioned way, if you can call it the old-fashioned way. So so the people in the practitioners in our communities are struggling, and some of them are reaching out, which is great. And for me, my practice, my wheelhouse is shamanism, is earth-based spiritual healing, and also Reiki. And sometimes I blend both of them together when I do sessions. I do one-on-one sessions online with clients, and it's working. And I'm also teaching shamanism online, which is working. And I mean, I was dead against, I've talked to you about it, dead set against it. And so yeah, it's coming up to a year, right? Since we've been
wow, it really is.
It's coming up to a year. So that's that feeling like, okay, I've been good for a year. Like, how long is this going to continue? How am I going to continue with my own personal practice? And things are shifting, and the energies are shifting, and so all these questions are coming to me, and I think it's important for us as a community to be there for other people that are struggling, and to know that there are people out there that we can reach out to, to be accountable. The accountability,
Well, I think too, also, and for a lot of people, I know this has come out where I've spoken to people about this. When there is a crisis or something going on, and I'm going to rechange that wording. I don't want to say it's a global crisis. It's a global shift, or it's a global energetic learning opportunity. So we don't want to refer to this, because then it's like we're being punished or bad things are being done.
Exactly.
This is a learning opportunity that maybe we don't quite understand the full premise of right now, or the full potential of what can come from it, but it is doing a lot of shifting. And I think for, a lot of people, there is that thing again with that isolation. It goes hand in hand with contemplation for a lot of people, where you start contemplating your life, you start thinking about stuff, you start struggling with stuff, and what we're trying to say today is, when that stuff is coming up, don't feel that you need to stay stuck in it if it's not good for your mindset or your spirit or your growth, or because we were discussing that there's been clients that have been saying how their spiritual practice have been suffering or struggling because they haven't had the motivation, or they haven't been in the right mindset to continue their journeys. And it's really important to understand that when big things are happening, either in your life, physically, emotionally, spiritually, there are acceptable moments where you actually don't have your spiritual practice in play like you used to, where it kind of stops. And that's where you have to sometimes rely on other people, where you go, my energies are completely drained, I cannot do this right now, kind of thing. And then it says, okay, I'll go to this person for some help to rebalance my energy, I'll do this, or ground this. And I think that's why it's a very interesting time that we're in right now, where it's unprecedented. But it's also, I think, part of this, and I'm one of these people who definitely believes in that humanity, despite what we might be seeing on the news, humanity itself is shifting to higher consciousness. I truly, truly believe that. And I think sometimes when globally the planet itself is shifting into that higher dimensional frequencies, you are going to have these opportunities where as a whole, you're given these moments to reassess your life, to decide whether or not you're going to shift to these different patterns, kind of thing. And for so many people, I think we don't realize being human is hard in general, and getting help from other people is not always a bad thing, or working with each other, kind of thing. And it's a global community that we can reach from, and you and I were discussing this a bit, Lou, beforehand, where you mentioned, like your focus on shamanism and stuff. And, there's a lot of people that are specialized in specific areas. And we go right now in our communities and in our world, we're so lucky that we have access to the internet and that. You could find somebody practicing a modality that speaks to you, no problem. You just have to maybe look a little bit, but you could definitely find somebody who resonates with your soul. And that's what Lou and I were talking about, how in this time that we live in now, there's so much available to people that sometimes that can also be overwhelming.
Yes.
So it's sometimes a good thing to pick something that already speaks to you or resonates with you, or where your soul is going.
Right. Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of practitioners out there that have a lot of modalities under their belts. They're education junkies.
Yeah.
They want to. Well, it's like people like I remember my dad telling me he had a cousin. She's passed on now, but I mean that's all she did was get degrees.
Yeah.
She bore 9 kids.
Wow.
And and I mean the community, took care of these kids because she was constantly having degrees after degrees and then PhD after PhD, and that's what filled her heart and soul, was doing that. And I'm like, and I know practitioners that are out there that have a slew of knowledge and things and that can be overwhelming in itself, because you're like, well, what do I ask them about, and what do I,
or even for the practitioner, what do I actually offer?
What do I exactly? And I mean, I have other things besides, shamanism and Reiki. I've learned, bars, and I've learned tapping, and I've learned this, and I've learned that. But a lot of that stuff I have learned for myself. That's sort of my own personal practice for me. Like, if I get a headache, I'll do some tapping, or that helps me. But I don't offer that to other clients. My passion, what makes my heart sing, and what I'm passionate about, is shamanism and Reiki. Reiki is very subtle. It's a very subtle introduction to energy work. So, people that are not sure about things, that's where I sort of start with them.
Yeah.
But then shamanism is sort of
the deeper level.
The deeper level, and that big push to, if they're not afraid to do the work. And that's what I tell them. If you're not afraid to do the work, shamanism is a great,
but
I
think that's a great way to put it too, though, is because you're saying you're passionate about it. Like, if you do look for any other healers or work with other people, find somebody who's passionate in their topic, because then they want to do it. They're excited to do it. They're sort of thing. And again, this is something we've discussed in previous videos before, how it can be overwhelming as well, because there is so much information and training and everything available nowadays, that it can almost get to the point. And I do know that with some healers, where they actually have taken so much training for themselves that they sort of lose track of the original, what they were drawn towards, and their practice becomes so saturated that they're not quite sure what to offer, what they're passionate about, kind of thing. And the reason we're bringing this up is, I think now more than ever, and again, it's tricky because you can offer distance Reiki, and there are distance healing modalities and that, so it's where things are different. But I think now more than ever, that's why it's so important for, healers to be stepping into their light.
Yes.
Because there are so many people right now that are not just from COVID in general, but in this transitional stage, that the planet is in, that we're shifting to this higher evolutionary consciousness, that healers are needed now more than ever. And I think, and for a lot of people, I think too, there's that hesitation, that fear, maybe you have to get a million types of training in order to be, certified or feel that you're worthy, kind of thing. And I always have this thing where I tell people, if you're genuine about what you're doing, and you're doing it with the right intention, and you have a skill set behind it, some sort of training or personal growth or whatever it is, then I go, yes, and definitely offer it. I've always had issues with when I've said to you, somebody who's taken a training on a weekend and then the next week they're set up as a professional. Like, that's where I have hesitation on those trainings. But again, too, for me, I'm a little bit, and I'm again, this is not to criticize anybody's business, but I do get a little wary sometimes when I come across a healer that's offering like 100 modalities, because my thing is always like, well, where's your specialty? Like, where is your, your main focal area?
Yeah.
And some people love giving 100 different things. Some people love having many, many different things to offer. But for me right now, then again, we were discussing this a little earlier, Lou, before we started, about how when you're going through something, you almost want to bond or connect with the healer, that you feel they're resonating with you. But this is a reminder for the healers as well. We go, yes, it's important, but also remember that healers need healing.
Yes. Yes.
You know, and I think
Exactly.
that's really never discussed that often, is that healers actually also require, oh, sorry, my dryer just finished. I apologize if you hear music in the background.
He's got a singing dryer.
Yes, it plays a whole little symphony for me when it's done. But yes, but you know, the one of those topics that's never discussed is that healers need healing.
Exactly.
You know?
And a lot of them are so stoic, and they think, oh my gosh, if I go to another healer, or if I reach out and ask for assistance and stuff, that it's showing my weakness.
Yeah.
It's not. It's showing your courage, and it's showing strength, because we're in this together.
Yep.
When it comes to the healing community. We are a vessel for people.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that vessel gets really, really overloaded and full,
Yep.
and it's sinking. And it's important to reach out and have another one, like I said, to see a different perspective, and show show you and say things that it might go, oh, I never thought of it that way. It's important to do that. Communities, other communities like artists and writers, and they have groups, and they get together, and they share, and their techniques and things like that. Why not the healing community? Why not? Why don't we do it? We all have this stoic feeling.
Well, we did used to have it wasn't a healing group, but it was a great group that we had in the city that's unfortunately not going on, but I believe another lady was going to take it over, where it was every Monday night, where they had the virtual group where different healers would come and do presentations. And I believe somebody is planning on that once COVID's done, Cynthia at Serene Glow Boutique on Hanwell Road. She was saying she wants to, start that group back up. So there is this, there is this energy out there, this ripple out there, and I think that's the important thing for people to understand. As much as solitary healing is important for your growth, work through stuff, process stuff, but sometimes maybe the way I'm trying to say it is, do the inner work on your own, and then maybe go to somebody else to help you clear out the stuff that came up.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like sometimes it's not bad to go. And I know for me, like I said, I told you about this, and it was funny because when I was sick, I actually requested, I put a note on my page that said, I'm going to get my lungs checked. I want to make sure the lungs come back clear, and they were good for the most part, which was good. But I actually requested energy healing, and a lady I know sent it to her Reiki group, and people sent it. And so that night I actually ended up, it was so much energy, it actually overwhelmed me. That I just lay on the floor laughing because so much was coming. But it was that beautiful moment of like a surrender where I was sort of like, you know what, I do have that human scared moment, and I'm like, here, other people can help me, other people are willing to help. And I think that's the wonderful thing that we need to realize as humans is we can help each other, and it doesn't have to be viewed as a weakness. And I think it's that expert mentality that we're kind of taught. When you're an expert, you're supposed to hold everything together. You're meant to, do everything on your own, fix everything by yourself, to the degree where we go, oh, you actually end up getting yourself stuck because now you're caught in the image of what it's meant to be.
Exactly. And you burn out, a lot of teachers, international teachers out there that people have read their books and are burning out, because they haven't, we call them boundaries. They haven't put those boundaries up and to take care of themselves. And it's important. P was talking about, receiving all that energy from people. You gave permission for people to send you energy healing. So that's important to have, permission from the individual. It's nice to receive it in a group, but it can be overwhelming. I agree with you 100%. That's why we're talking today.
It was lovely though, because I took it as like, look how much love is coming from the universe, from these beautiful people. So it wasn't in a bad way, but I guess that's like something that people could do. Even if you're into energy healing, into Reiki and stuff, go on the Reiki groups. There's beautiful Reiki groups on Facebook. There's healing groups, and just request it. There's a lot of healers that will say, when we're doing our drum journeys, or, if anybody needs healing, just let us know and we'll add you into the energy of the group, So there are things you can do if you physically cannot get somewhere are, you know, you don't maybe have the means or the ability to be able to book a healing with somebody. You know, there's a lot of stuff that I think we can do to help each other out while we're going through stuff like this. But I think it's important for people to realize there is no weakness in, you know, going, this is a big lesson that's maybe too big for my spirit. I need a little bit of help with this one. You
Yes.
know, and for me, like I tell people, the last year for me was an extremely humbling year. Like the universe knocked me on my ass, but from it came this absolute beautiful growth that I had never anticipated or expected, that came from letting people help me.
Right. Right.
You know,
Yeah.
and it was completely soul changing. Like it was one of those moments where my spirit was like, oh cool, you don't have to do everything by yourself, you don't have to hold into everything by yourself. You know, and for a lot of cases, and I'm not saying this necessarily against dads, because there's a lot of great dads in the world, I'm not saying that, but in many cases I notice many of the healers that I've been speaking with, maybe that's how I should word it, tend to be female, or they're the moms. You know, they're the
Yes.
moms who are trying to work the job, and they're also trying to do this while they're trying to maintain their spiritual practice, but then they're beating themselves up. They don't have time to meditate, kind of thing like that. So remember, if you don't have the time or energy right now to maintain a spiritual practice, there's nothing wrong with saying, hey guys, can somebody send me a bit of Reiki today?
Yes.
You know, a
Yes,
little bit
exactly.
overwhelmed. And like I said, it's and again, there's many dads who do this. So I'll say parents in this case. For the parents that are feeling it's hard to maintain your practice while you're trying to do stuff and hold everything together in that, or even non-parents, if you have a lot of roles on the go, a lot of things on the go, you know, putting it out is sometimes just a little jump that you need, the little boost that you need in your energy to get you started again, to re-go. And then maybe once you're settled, you can give some of your energy to somebody else who needs it.
Well, yeah, exactly. You can offer your services to somebody else that's struggling. But just know, you know, we wish to talk about this to let people know in the
Yeah.
community that we're here. You know, we're
Yeah.
not going anywhere, and
Hmm.
it's you know, give us a ring, give us a, you know,
And it's
and
important because there's so many people now where mental health is coming to the foreground of this one, you know, where so many people in the isolation, or either they're struggling with loss of job, or the fear of what might happen, or health stuff, losing family members, you know, to COVID or during COVID. You know, there's so much that's coming up for people's mental well-being that is so disruptive, you know,
mm,
kind of thing. And that's why we felt it was very important, you know. And for me, where I in my past have had a lot of mental disruption, you know, and I don't say mental health issues or mental sickness. I don't call mental stuff sicknesses. I call it a mental disruption, which means I believe your spirit is overwhelmed to the point where your brain gets overwhelmed. So for
right.
me, I refer to them as mental disruptions. But I mean, I've had those where I think some of my mental disruptions, they were life changing, but thankfully there was other people there to help me when I went through them. You know,
Right.
and that's why it's very important for people to understand, like, offer modalities that you are passionate about, because there are people out there that need them. You know, and there's a
Yes.
lot of healers that are in a fear place right now going, are there clients, are there people, are there things out there? There will always be people in need, but also remember, for the healers in unprecedented times like this, it's also, you might need some need. You know, you
Yes.
might need a little bit of that help too. And that's really why we want to bring this up today, more from the standpoint of, you know, as well as maintaining a spiritual practice, if you can't maintain your spiritual and mental well-being.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
and a lot of people forget that when it comes to your spiritual path, because not only are we going through this, but then it's like, okay, now I have to heal all my childhood traumas, now I have to work through all the stuff with my exes, now I have to heal all the stuff around my family, now I have to grieve losses. You know, there's so much, to the point where you go, too much. Like, pull back a bit, give yourself a bit of permission, but also realize that there are so many, there's so many beautiful souls with such loving intentions on the planet right now, who want to make the world a more beautiful place, who want to make it, you know. And again, it's a little bit different to what I've said before, where I tell people, you know, and we've said this, be wary about who you go to, again, because there are some people who might not have the best intentions. But I
Yes.
genuinely believe, when you put out the beautiful light, there are so many people with the right intentions, right heart space, you know, right energy, that want to help with that, that there's no need, I guess, for people to struggle, because there's so much beautiful help out there. And again, even if it's not with the healer, therapists are beautiful healers. You know, I know
Yes.
many
Yes.
beautiful spiritually based healers, you know, that have
Yes.
spiritual practice while they offer traditional therapy, you know, traditional counseling, traditional social work. You know, there is so much beautiful light out there. And I think we want to remind people of this, because everything we're seeing is so heavy and, you know, down, that there is this fantastic light out there. It's just we forget to see it.
Yes, and don't be boggled down by social media.
Yeah,
Like with Facebook and Instagram, and a lot of times it could be just word of mouth.
yeah,
Like you contact P or contact myself, and if there's something in particular, we know a lot of the
hmm,
practitioners in our areas that we can sort of direct you in
yeah.
their direction.
There is also a group on Facebook. Is it? I'm sorry, Lou. I apologize because I'm not on it enough with the other stuff. Is Making Spiritual Connections still on Facebook? Or there was a Fredericton Healing group. There was Fredericton Area Healers or something, I believe it was. Or
I'm not
I
sure.
apologize. I haven't gone on that group in quite a while. I don't tend to go on like Facebook for personal stuff. It's more business.
Yeah.
But there are definitely groups on there for like Fredericton Spiritual Healers. And if you happen to be in one of the groups, or you are a healer, maybe even just post below, put a comment below, the video, or a comment, on the podcast or something that people can see. But I believe there were spiritual ones, and I know there's like Reiki practitioner groups, and and a lot of those groups are fantastic that you can put your intention into the group and say, I'm going through a lot. Could you guys send me Reiki? I give permission, So it's easy to get that help and that energy. And I think it's very important now for us as a global spiritual community to come together more now than ever. We've
Right.
had the freedom to connect with each other, but now I think it's the spiritual connection with each other, not just the
Yes.
physical link where we go, we can get each other through this, we can help each other with this, and we can also help other people. We don't have to try to do everything by ourselves.
Yes. But the thing is with the group, for me personally, for the group things, I wouldn't want to put out my information. You know what I mean? My
Oh, don't put
information.
your personal stuff. No, no, no. If it's something very personal, you can literally just go, would people mind sending me healing? Like for anybody that's private or anything. Or
Right.
you can go in the group and go, are there any healers that I can speak to? Do you know what I mean? Like, and then again, resonate with and find the healer that works with you. What
Yeah.
I'm more saying for people is that there are many different avenues to be able to ask for the help if you may need the help,
Yes.
which
Yes.
is important for some people, because for some people just putting it in a Reiki group might be all they need. And I know other Reiki practitioners who are in groups that are lovely, and they'll send healing if you email the admin, or even, and that actually might be an option, like if you can email the administrator of the group,
Right.
and just maybe say, could you ask the group if it's possible to send me some healing work when you do healing work? Or, it's I guess if you're Christian or you have a Christian background, you'd be familiar with the concept of a prayer circle or the prayer group,
Yes.
where they get
Right.
together and pray every week, and then your prayers can be added in, or they pray for you, every week kind of thing, or they add your families into the prayers. Like that sort of thing is what we're talking about. Sometimes during these times when it's very draining and it's not like normal, like even in times just when you're having a tough time in life, there's nothing wrong with asking for help, whether or not you're a healer.
Yes. Yes.
And I think people forget that. People often don't realize that, that when you're human life can be very difficult. It can be
Yes.
overwhelming, and there's nothing wrong with having that moment to sort of shift and go, and just realize that sometimes you need a breather. Don't be so hard on yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, and you and I have discussed this before, Lou, where Louise and I, unfortunately, before COVID, this is something we'll go back to, but we had our beach days where we
Yes.
literally would be like Ocean Day, where we literally would set a day for ourselves and we drive to the ocean, whether it's St. John or St. Andrews or wherever it was, or even by the river, we'd go for our river walks, where we literally would go for a day by the water to regroup, because we were both like, enough. And I mean, that's another thing too, heal in nature.
Yes.
The planet offers beautiful healing potentials and opportunities too, and so I guess what we're saying is, again, it's not to downplay struggle. That's not what we're trying to do here, like just go get help kind of thing. We're not trying to do that. We're not trying to say that people are not going through issues. What we're trying to remind people of is that you don't have to go through what you're going through by yourself.
Yes. Exactly.
And for
Exactly.
many people, especially where you have families that you're trying to look after, if you're struggling with the finances or the worry or the stuff, there are beautiful options there, kind of thing for people to help. But also it's no shame or embarrassment to say, energy, universe, give me a hand, like step in, give me this help kind of thing, like that. And I mean, and I have no qualms using my personal stuff as examples. Like for me, when I was sick and I couldn't work, people did a GoFundMe for me. Like it was an absolutely beautiful thing, and I'm beyond grateful for that, because this outpouring of love came from the community to help me, be able to keep going, with stuff, so that I could take time off to rest and get my body back on track. To a place where I was able to function and go again. And I think that's one of the important things for people to understand is, and I mean, for me, and I'll freely say this to people, for me, I'm one of these people that asking for help is a very challenging thing for me to do. And I'll freely admit that. Like I have my core people that I bounce my ideas off of, but for the most part, I try. So this was one of those. And when that happened, it's the weirdest thing. I cannot explain it. It was this beautiful moment where I suddenly said, oh, I don't have to carry the weight of the world on my shoulders.
Yeah.
And then because of that, there's something in my life shifting now that I can't actually talk about yet because it's not in works yet. But because of that beautiful shift in offering, I was like, oh, I can do this for the world now. Here, so it's almost like the universe did it, going, oh, look, you can help other people back, and sharing back and forth. So there's this beautiful shift, that's going on, that I'm trying to explain to people. Your energy is meant to ebb and flow. And a lot of the time, especially in the spiritual community, we have to have this thing that it's just meant to flow. It's meant to be all the time, meant to be go, 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 kind of thing.
Yeah.
And for me, it was this beautiful moment of honoring my humanness.
Yeah. And
like,
what,
oh, you're human too.
And the thing is what, who gave us that job of carrying the world?
Yeah. I think it comes from that monk mentality. You see people like the Mother Teresas, the Dalai Lamas, the Gandhis, and you go, oh, when you hit the spiritual threshold, you're meant to have that. But what I remind people of too is, if you read Mother Teresa's autobiography, there's moments where she questioned her faith, and kind of just kept pushing and just kept going through, and I'm sure the Dalai Lama is not entertaining people all day. He still has his spiritual practice, as a devoted Buddhist monk, so there's still this stuff there where, I go, they're getting it, but I'm sure they're also getting help in some regards. Or, Mother Teresa wasn't doing everything by herself. She had other people. It's just, but I believe we have this monk mentality where it's a sacrifice and suffer and push through. And I don't know. I've been through that and it didn't work for me. So I no longer have the belief that in order to be spiritual, there should be an amount of suffering attached to that.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, I went through similar experiences where I'm like, but who is there for me? Like who's and I think I talked to you about that. It was just a couple of years ago. I said, who's my cheerleader?
Yeah.
Like I wish to have a cheerleader in my corner, and because I'm a cheerleader for everybody.
Yeah.
And but you have to reach out for that. Not everybody is, made to be cheerleaders.
And remember, and I think this is important, you can't send somebody healing without their permission.
Yeah.
And I think that's important. Even Reiki, energy healing, anything like
anything.
We're no universal law. Like even readings, you'll see when I do a reading, I have to ask your permission. I go, do I have your permission to access your energy? So, and that's why it's important that we want to say to people, just putting out this ripple. And even if for you, the step in the direction is ripple in the universe, like angels, I'm overwhelmed, I need help. Let me find the person I need to find, or angels, I'm going through a lot. Help me find the healing I need, they'll do it. They'll step in, they'll jump in, but there's this thing where, again, it's this mentality that when you reach a certain spiritual level, you're meant to be exempt from life and it's not meant to upset you or disrupt you anymore.
Exactly.
That doesn't work. That doesn't exist. As long as you're a human, something is going to challenge you one way or another as part of your learning, but it's your spiritual practice that's going to dictate how you let it affect you or disrupt you.
Yes.
And that's
more
where it comes
shit's always going to happen.
And that's it. And I think that's where people get this belief that, once your spiritual life's going to be perfect, and that's what we're here today to say. It's not that it doesn't get better or that you don't enjoy yourself more. It's different, I guess. But it's one of those things that we go, but it's completely fine when you're having a bad human moment, and I was joking with Louise, like, I had like very disrupted but deep sleeps last night. And it was one of those days when I woke up confused again that I was back on Earth. I was like, where the hell am I? Why am I back here? So on those days, I always say to Lou, I'm like, it's a movie day. Like my head is not in a human day today. Like I gotta read books or I'm gonna like watch movies, but like no heavy spiritual books or nothing like that's gonna overwhelm my poor little system. It's okay to give yourself a day off every now and then.
Yes, exactly. We were sent on this earth as human beings,
Yes.
and we have human experiences.
Yes.
And a lot of time, but the more we do the work on ourselves, and access those sweet spots for us,
Hmm.
when things do happen, when those human things do happen to us, we don't sit in it for a long time.
Yes, not as long as we would have before. Yes, 100%.
Exactly, right? It could have been days before, weeks
Hmm.
before, and now it's sort of like a day, like you said, a day.
Yeah.
It's going to be a movie day today. I
Yeah.
want to watch, romance, rom-coms
Yeah.
all day and things. And then the next morning you're like, oh, okay,
Back on track.
I'm good.
I'll get my days when I yell at my guides, and the next day I go, "Oh, back on track. My bad." Being a human day, like, you know what I mean? But and I think maybe we should keep watching our time there, Lou,
Yes,
because
we're good.
I
Yeah,
think we're good on that sense. But yeah, so really more today, guys. We just wanted to jump back in and sort of rather than a specific topic in and of itself, just remind everybody that no matter what you're going through, that there is help out there in one form or another, and there is no shame in getting that help. And maybe a combination of help. Physical help, if your physical body's sick, you go on your medication while you're going to a healer, kind of thing. Then if you integrate that and your doctor says it's great and you're in a place, then maybe go off your meds if you can, but make sure you're doing everything in a way that's realizing you don't have to do everything on your own, because I know that too. People have decided, if they have mental disruptions or stuff, that they are spiritually healed and they can go off their medications, but they were good because they were on their medications, and
exactly.
sometimes your physical body just disrupts.
Yeah.
I was talking to mom about that the other day. It's interesting. My mom's Saffron, for those of you that know her. And, I was saying, I think sometimes we have this mentality, I'm meant to fix my body and heal the body. And I said, sometimes I think human bodies are just, they break down because they naturally break down. And it's not that you're doing anything good or bad or right or wrong. It's just, and I believe you can fix and change everything. I truly do. But sometimes I think we get so fixated on fixing the thing that it becomes another issue. Whereas if you just go, okay, my body does this now, cool, like it'll work as it works, but I'm going to shift to this now, kind of thing. We get so fixated on but why is my back doing this, why is this happening, that it becomes this thing where it's almost like a shaming, like, you've screwed up, look what you've done. Where again,
Right.
we go, okay, but maybe yes, you have this physical disruption in your back, but now you go to a massage therapist.
Yes.
Now you go to somebody who does what's the other one? Physiotherapist. Like a physiotherapist and
Osteopathy. Yeah. Osteopathy.
You can tell I've had one cup of coffee. Osteopathy. Thank God for human coffee.
And that's the thing. The thing is to go to these people that have a knowledge and get what you require so that you
Yes.
can go home and continue it.
Yes.
It's not about consistently going to these people,
Yes.
because they become a crutch.
Yes.
They just become a crutch. You need to really tap into your body and
Yeah.
learn what
That's
it's
more from the
doing.
spiritual healer side. If you need physical healing,
Yes.
then you need to. When we say don't let it be a crutch, we more mean spiritual healers that it's like Reiki every 2 days kind of thing like that. We're going to just careful.
No, but not only for me, not only spiritual healers, but like I was going to a physiotherapist. They were really, really good and everything,
Mm-hmm.
but I thought, I'm not owning this.
Mm-hmm.
I own this pain, this rotator cuff issue.
Yeah.
So I require to do the work. It's fine to go once in a while to get a sort of a
Yes.
a bump up or something, or sort of like a new way of doing the healing, but it's my responsibility. My body,
But
my
again,
responsibility.
you're still doing it in a way where you're acknowledging it. You know what I mean? You're not going to the shame thing of like, why is my shoulder acting up? What have I done? I should healing it. Like, that's what we're trying to say. Like, you're owning it, that you go, oh, my shoulder's wonky now. Like, I've got to do this, but I got to do this inner work too. Kind of I'll work on that kind of thing. But that's more what we're trying to say, is a lot of people do that with their mental health. Is they're like, oh, I'll get that right back on track. And
Right.
I see it
Right.
often with grieving, because, my specialty is death and dying and helping people, grieve their loved ones, and I see it all the time. People have these really unrealistic beliefs, that they are just meant to be over it. They're meant to just, snap back on track. And in some cases we go, if it's really traumatic, go to a therapist. But like Louise is saying,
Yes.
don't go, I can only heal because of the therapist.
Yes.
Like use the therapist, but also work on your personal healing, your personal growth. But realize there are people, and that's what it is. The people are there to help you with your healing, not do your healing for you.
Yes.
That's
Perfect.
what we're trying to say in this case.
Perfect.
Yes. So
we got to it, P. We finally got to it.
Girl, we'll dance around it till we finally land on top. All right. Well, with that, my friends, I think we might be good for our time this week.
Yes.
Thank you so much for tuning into Pilu. And like Louise mentioned, if you want to get in contact with her, it is louise@farr.ca, Farr.ca. You can find me on Facebook, Spiritual Medium Paleki, or Angel Messages by Paleki. They won't let me change that name for some reason. On Instagram, spiritual.medium.paleki. And Pilu, the podcast, is going to be on YouTube. You can find us under Pilu or Spiritual Medium Paleki. And we are on Google Podcast now, Spotify, Podbean. I feel like there's other ones that we were trying to get on Amazon, but I still haven't heard back. So you can definitely find us wherever you find most of your podcast information now. You can get the video or the audio. So we do appreciate you staying with us. And please do, again, if you have any questions, comments, anything, post them below, share them with us, email us, contact us, and also please do share this information if you feel like it might be relevant for anybody else, in order, if you might know somebody who might be struggling a little bit, that maybe they need to hear it this week, that you don't have to sort of take on the burden of the world on your own.
Right.
All right.
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much, my friends. We truly do love you and appreciate you for being with us tonight. Well, today, I guess, but whenever you watch this. So thanks for being here. We do appreciate that. And may you have a happy and blessed week. And we will see you next time on Pilu.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks, P.
Love you guys. Bye, Lou. Love you.
Bye. Love you. Bye.